Church after church.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Hold on just a second. That's with the addition of.
With the addition, yeah.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Abstain.
Motion approved.
We had a lake meeting this week, pretty uneventful. Creepy camping was a big success. They said the number one concern was scooters this year.
Too many?
Too many scooters,
Electric ones?
yeah.
Those are just, they're all over.
They were like swarming, just cars couldn't go anywhere, they just swarmed around them, in front of them, behind them. So,
Scooter games?
I guess, so, they didn't have any trouble during the rest of the year with it, so.
Just that weekend?
I said something to be able to keep an eye on for that, but everything else was very successful.
Things go pretty fast too.
The motorized bicycles, they had some problems with them too, of course. But the sheriff out there quite a bit. They put a reserve officer out there, and he was really, really good for them. They said, and kind of kept everything under wrap, real nice.
I think maybe that they had problems.
No, he was just out there just patrolling and interacting. It was really good for the sheriff's department too. It kind of sounds to me like that they're just interacting with the public right now, so. That was good. Had a heritage meeting for Asia yesterday, nothing real big there, so. And Nick and I went for a tour yesterday. I invited Nick to come down and I wanted to look at some of the, where they ditched in the last 3 years and show him what's happened. I said, we spent 2 weeks of man hours on this stretch of ditch and it was great. And now it looks like they did nothing to it.
Oh, the trees all do that?
Yeah. So I wanted to make me aware of that. We happened to meet the new weed guy was there, Smith, and we invited him over. He's very, very knowledgeable young man. Has some great ideas, so they're just gonna plug and try to do some different things in different areas and see what they can do to stop this. But I said it's just a waste of our money. We're gonna do it 3 years back.
Then you just cut them and spread.
That's what, leading the tall one, we're gonna try to cut them and spray them, and then when they did this spring, I said, that one we could probably get by with just spraying that one, so.
You need to come back for the next couple of years because.
Yeah. So it's good. I mean, I thought it was gonna be like a half-hour deal, it turned into an hour then. So. Anyway. So that was mine.
We all got the same phone calls about the same gravel road, and
Yeah,
other than that, I didn't have any meetings.
that was one thing we could discuss, and we'll discuss with Nick is there some kind of policy after October 1st you can tear them out? My opinion, they should stay unless they got holes.
I think that is the policy, but it's up to the motor grader operator if it gets tore up or not. And that's why I said going forward, I think Nick probably needs to okay them, at least where we were having issues.
Either that or move that date to November 1st.
So, but why have the date at all?
Well,
Just to make sure that
I did
you
ask that
don't-
question, so.
I'd say you have a date November 1st, just to make sure it does not get done until at least
Next word is if it's a dry, say we have a dry November, that doesn't, they don't tear it out, and it's a dry, they don't, if it gets, snow or something on it, it'll
But
turn it.
all the grain traffic is.
I agree. I think it's safe. And how many years we're gonna have rain in November probably, so I think it's safe.
grain trucks are pretty much gonna run clear to November every year.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd be safe. I wouldn't.
So
That's what he told me. That was his
That's my
worry.
2 cents on that.
So I would agree too.
That's all you had then, Abby?
Yeah.
Same thing, basically, just calls about that road.
Nothing else?
No.
No sheriff visit?
No.
I had that 2 Fridays ago, I went to the meeting in Eldora. There was some closed sessions that we had, and coming out of closed session, there was an agreement not to, I think it was like 17-1 vote to terminate the contract of the director of the facility. So right now, the interim director is the assistant director. So I think the executive board was meeting yesterday to see what they're gonna go forward to fill that position. So that was pretty much the news out of that meeting. I had a Veterans Commission meeting, went very well. Actually, I'm signed up to go to a school. There's a commissioners and liaisons school for commissioners and supervisors, and especially the liaison. I guess other counties have a liaison from the board to commission. That's gonna be on Monday, so if we have that vote on Monday, I won't be here, so just, because we'll have to have 3 there only Monday for the
Canvas.
ACLA.
Yeah, that'll be easy.
Okay, so I just want to let you know, I won't be here Monday because I'll be at that. And other than that, they had a veterans coffee yesterday. I went ahead and attended that. There was probably 10 veterans there, and it's kind of a neat thing. They just kind of talk about what benefits are coming down, what changes there are in the VA. And Jenny Olson is there to explain that as well. So other than that, that's all I had for the couple of weeks I've been missing.
That's all I had is the road component that was dealt with. Okay, drop down below and knock some of those stuff out. We have the liquor licenses, which one is an address issue that we can approve subject to.
Midwest Festivals LLC, I haven't received the premise control, with the updated address yet.
So it can be approved subject to correction.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay. Motion approved. Did anybody think of moving for Pioneer Cemetery? Our meeting was supposed to be last night, but everybody was gonna be in the field, so it got canceled. So that's staying for next week. Wait, you said Jared wanted to do it?
No.
Dang here. Howard County Recorder, that's a chair note, right?
Yep.
Schedule a public hearing for Howard County Home Rule Ordinance number 43. That was to correct the indigenous burial stuff, correct? Did I say it wrong again?
Because that's ordinance too.
No, this is the recodification of our ordinances.
Oh,
When would you like it, Brandy?
October 7th.
At what time?
she's digging.
9:45.
I'll make a motion to set the hearing for October 7th at 9:45.
You mean
Are we talking, wait a minute, November 7th?
November
Or
7th?
sorry,
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was that?
Yeah, good, yeah,
Would it be next year?
yeah, might as well wait.
We're coming Tuesday.
I'll second that, November 7th.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, say nay. Motion approved. Items for consideration for next week. Anybody have anything?
That has it today.
Make an item for after next week.
T-Mac just makes it look
Anything
like.
else you want to discuss at the moment, or we'll go into recess?
what was I gonna? Oh, we got the news that the sheriff has been selected for marshal. I'm just confused, how do we, if that would come down, how do we fill that position?
I think we appoint. It
Unless there's a petition.
has to be petition to put it to an election, right?
Mhm.
So the board would appoint it, or
Yeah, I think it's us.
I think it's us.
is that,
And then,
do we need to
to the next,
consult
till January, till November
Tim to
26th.
see exactly for
Yeah,
sure?
we'll make
Same term
sure.
as me.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I think
oh,
they-
you're gonna appoint, they won't have it, okay.
I think they filled the whole term.
Oh, I figured they'd just go on to November.
I don't know.
They finish out that term.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they
Now
do.
that keep the cycle of all the terms right.
okay.
They fill out the term unless there's a special election.
So was he elected just this last election?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's with me. So they would be there for 3 years.
Because I did hear like this was a few weeks ago, I heard on the radio that, the administration and the Republicans are trying to get like some of these appointments grouped together so they don't have to be individual approval all through the Senate. So some of the ones that are further out away from Washington, they're gonna group them together.
Speed it up.
Yeah, to speed it up. So I know in the past, and I talked to Abby before, about sometimes it takes 6, 8 months before the approval actually comes down after they've been appointed. But so if this is the case, it may be quicker than we think.
So, we're going to break there, I can I'll call Tim and make sure that that's the right that we appoint.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because like if you quit here, we don't appoint your replacement, the elected officials appoint. But I think we do the sheriff.
I think we do. I looked it up one day and it seemed to be that way.
Okay.
It's not really,
I just wanted to clarify, I'd rather have it, nothing
Yeah.
personal with the attorney.
yeah.
Okay, with that being said, is that it?
Yep.
Okay, let's go into recess and go.
The bridge on D Avenue, they're pouring the piers this week. Still going a little slow, but they are making progress. Our guys out on the road, mostly ditching and dragging. Trying to get everything prepped for winter. In the office, some bridge plans. We did, spent the day getting ready for, we're gonna try and do a little bit of work on, that culvert on V77 that we put the extension in last year. I need some work around, the edges, so we're gonna do that. We did take a little while yesterday to look at places to spray and touch base with the weed commissioner. He did send me a whole list this morning of other locations that he's sprayed, and he's gonna get you some before and after pictures so that you guys can, check that out. A little bit of, equipment management, what we're doing with some vehicles and that sort of thing. We'll know more later. I spent over half a day making sure that the GPS and the cameras on the trucks and graders are, everything's working up to par. And we switched a few of those around earlier this year because we got change pickups. So again, we want to be ready for winter. And I'm not quite done with that. I still got probably a few more hours to go. Had to order some different parts to change it from the truck to a pickup, but anyway. And then I do have a few crews today going over to Clinton County and look and see how they build their bridges in-house. I know they have a little bit different equipment, do things a little bit differently, so they're gonna go over there and take a bunch of pictures and ask a bunch of questions, and we'll bring that information back, analyze it, and see if we can't better utilize some of our forces here. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but we don't know until we go over there and find out what they're doing. So that's kind of.
A question I should know the answer to is, the former weed commissioner, who had a contract that I assigned to appoint as weed commissioner. Did we ever do that for the new one?
That's a good question. I doubt we did.
What the?
There was a contract we had to renew every year. Is it every year?
I don't know if it's a contract. It's a piece of paper with the state
Right.
that says, the board appoints this person to be weed commissioner from this date,
Yeah.
for next year.
I don't know if I ever did it with a new one.
I don't think we did.
You want to do that or just wait till next year?
But we probably should have it in place, I think,
I'll have, actually, we can,
to make sure that we're doing it right.
yeah.
Just a thought.
Sure, I'll have her call somebody, maybe I'll have her call, maybe they'll say no. You guys have appointed somebody if you can, we'll find out.
Okay, just want to be sure we're doing it the right way. Anybody else got anything else from Nick? Oh, you want to talk about the dust thing now, about the timelines?
Yeah, if we want to move back the date to November 1st, or do we even need a date, and just if they're bad, then?
Yeah, do we even need a date? Because in the summertime, if they're bad, you still have the right to tear them out.
We do, well, I mean, we try not to.
Right, but I mean, it's the same thing though, isn't it? But what's different and what would you have to date?
Okay, so the date's been on there as long as I have been here, right? So I'm assuming that date's been that way for 20, 30 years, whatever it is. I think that it is a good date to have. I think it's a good date to have. This particular spot that made a little hubbub this week, I'm gonna go ahead and defend some of our guys here. We're damned if we do and damned if we don't. That's how I feel about it, because if you grade it, everyone's gonna say, well, my dust control was fine, and you should have left it. And then there are people that don't live on that stretch but still travel it, that say, that road is bumpy and needs graded. So right there, we have some sort of split there. Now, also, there's 8 dust controls on that stretch. For him to go 200 yards, pick up the blade and try to come back, you're gonna get a bumpy road that way in such a small stretch. And then people are gonna be like, you know, he sucks at grading. That's not the way to do it either. But I do think that sometimes at this time of year, you don't know how many rains you have left to get a good grade in. And if you don't start taking care of those, and prep that road right now for winter, or the spring, you know, winter, spring, whatever, the future, that's fine, we can leave it, but then don't be mad later when the road, you know, early spring's got potholes all over it and everything else. You're looking at the grader again, like, what the hell happened? And then the grader's like, well, I wasn't allowed to touch it. I wasn't allowed to prep it. You know, that particular road gets a lot of traffic and it's been graded once since May, essentially, because of all the dust controls, you know. You just-
But if they're in good shape, is there a reason to is there a winter reason to tear them out?
Well, the reason is because if they're in good shape, but that's also the opinion.
It's perspective.
It's the perspective. You know, I still go back to my grandpa, you know, everything about him. I only have 2 potholes, it's fine. My neighbor's got 3, his sucks, tear his up. You know, when it's in your house, it's fine, because you know where to weave and you're going slow, but everybody else's sucks. The idea though is you are trying to get this road ready for winter and spring, and you may not have too many opportunities left. And also some of these too, you get one rain, we're supposed to get a rain this weekend, they're gonna heal back up. That calcium will kind of come back up anyway, a little bit. It's always gonna be really, really dusty right after you grade it.
Is there a winter reason not to have dust control done? Is there like a safety, what gravel showing, or
I'm sorry,
is there a winter reason
a winter reason?
to not have dust control down? Is it
Well-
a safety issue if there's nothing to grip onto, or?
No, no, I think a winter reason is fine, because there will be locations where dust controls do get left that are okay, they will get left. I think, you know, and that's sort of situation too. I think the roads do get a little bit, they never freeze hard, they will be a little bit softer. But how that affects in the spring. But I think if you, at this time of year, if you get a good day to drag, I would take full advantage of it to get ready for winter. And I know that that's how a bunch of the guys feel too. They want to take pride in their roads and make sure that they're not crap come winter, late winter, early spring. You know? So I'm just saying, if you change it back to like November, there's a chance you might not get a good drag in. You will do whatever you want. I'm just throwing that out there, right? So if we move it back and they don't get drug good, that's fine. I just wanted you to be prepared for all the hatred you may get in the spring.
Well, we're kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't, but
Exactly.
if there's no holes, I don't think we should tear them out.
That's perspective though,
And that's the perspective of the maintainer operator.
right?
That's my opinion.
And I do think that there's a lot of, you know, this particular maintainer, I know that he's went over other dust controls that were good. Not graded through them. I know he's not graded.
Passed over.
Yeah, passed over them is what I meant.
Well, right, my statement isn't for this particular case, it's countywide.
Yeah,
If they're in good shape, we should just leave them alone. If they're bad, we tear them up.
Well, that's been our.
And that's a perspective of the maintainer operator.
And that's kind of been our unspoken policy, but the thing that is in paper has a date. And then so, I think it's gonna be very,
But it's judgmental on that day.
yes. Well, no, it's, if they're good, if they're good, leave them alone. That's judgmental. I think a lot of people have the same view-ish, you know, the same view. But I don't know if, One thing, so that you don't have this, is you just go through them all on October 1st and you don't get, I know it's not what we want, right? But that is so that we don't have these judgmental things and people going, well, it was okay. You just turn them all up then.
Is that date on the permits?
Yeah. And that is so that we can get the roads ready.
So, so let's say in the summertime, Abby puts it down and she's got potholes. Do they call out and say, you have potholes, we're gonna you'll fix it? Do they have a chance to fix it?
Yeah, they always have a chance to fix it. I think a lot of times, I don't even know about it, right? Because the graders will have contacts and they'll call and they'll say, and I think, and then they'll go down maybe and put the stinger out and kind of rub it back and forth a little bit. They can do that. And I think that happens more than what we know. It's the squeaky wheels that we end up hearing about. And if things are at a bypass, then that's where I come in and I'll write a little letter, that says, hey, we'll kind of fix it up, or we're gonna go through it. And that really doesn't happen that often. And I don't know if we've ever actually drug one up.
And just like one on every side.
Yeah,
But moving the date back would not, you don't think that would be good? Because it wouldn't give you enough time for winter.
Possibly, yes, yeah, that's what I would,
To prepare.
yeah,
Because you're worried about getting the time in after it rains, because you need it solved.
yes, that's kind of,
I think the stress just needs to be, if they're decent, you just leave them.
and that's what most people do and try to do. And again, this particular case, it is very hard to grade that road and leave them down. And now I talk to people and they were like, well, two, three of them, or whatever, were pretty potholy. There was maybe one that I could have left, but also it was in a bad spot to kind of leave it. So he goes, the one landowner could get a little, but the rest of them that road needed to be drugged before winter and prepped.
Yeah, the caller, and obviously the caller was upset, but the call I got was, put the blade down and just went the whole way.
Yeah,
So,
but again, I would stand by the fact that in this one, if you try to puddle jump in between some of those, you're gonna get a worse product, and then they will not be happy with that either. You're just putting them in a hard situation where, hey, try to do the impossible here, and when you can't do it, then then you suck type deal, and that's not. I don't want that either.
I just think maybe up for this road next year, maybe you should give the approval,
That's
just so
fine.
that it's not a he said, she said.
That's fine, yeah.
yeah, it's hard to change policy over one complaint,
Yeah, if we continue to get them, it'd be different.
Yeah, but you gotta look at them when you get them,
Right.
the complaints.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure there's I'm sure there's a couple down, that have some complaints over by your place, and then there's a few more up by Amana. And it's again, and these people are frequent, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
A lot of experts.
Yeah.
But that's it's our job to address things as we see them and find out your side.
And this particular, even in the summertime, to do between applications first and second, I was made aware and I went up and checked them then, and I agree with, and then, go through it, get them ready for this second application. And then this time, I was like, well, I couldn't do the same thing, but it's a week past the dates and I want to get the roads looking good. And they needed it. So I was like, yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I was out there a month ago and that was a month ago. And while the road wasn't bad, it wasn't good. you know? Which I drive a lot of gravel, so not, I weave in and out, and, you know. But it wasn't like some of the other roads that we had, and that's because of the traffic, there's a lot of traffic on there. So you guys would do whatever you want, but I would say that you kind of leave it as is, and, for this particular community of people, I will go check it out next year.
Yeah, I would say that road and 190th out of Conroy and 210th, like from my house to 151, those are probably three of the busiest gravel roads you have.
Those are hard, and then we got the 110 farm to market up here that runs about 10 miles. That's a very busy road too.
That's usually in pretty good shape though.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Well, I mean, I'm up there all the time.
Yeah, me too. When I used to live up, and I thought it was great. There are a community of people up there too, that same thing. A lot of calls that are very not happy about it. I'm like, I think I agree with John.
Of course, to be fair, mine's like from north to west of Manada to 151 is where I'm on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the same. And granted, it can get chattery, but it's so loud, you just leave it now. It's a hard road, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
See it.
Go back in the recess. So, got 15 minutes to Dylan gets here. Okay, call the meeting back to order.
Good.
Sweatshirt.
I know, I'm like, it's always cold in here, and then I can't get no space heater.
All right, so we start off with the roof and transportation. I don't know, did Becky get a hold of you?
We saw that swale when we were down there last time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a broken truss. I don't know. I went up there and looked at it, and it is broke. In order to fix it, I mean, we're gonna have to bring down the whole drop ceiling. Add a sister joist to that one, and then, I mean, the joists are like 4 foot on the center, when usually they're about like 2 foot. So at that time, we'd have to add a couple trusses as well.
When was this built, this building?
I have
That's
no
good
idea.
for me.
that was an add-on
Is
to
that
the
old?
building.
Yeah,
Ouch.
That was an add-on.
Nice touch.
No, I'm just saying that you've been a supervisor for a long time.
is it the old like ready mix office?
Yeah,
I think so.
so, have we put any more thought into maybe moving their office?
Well, that's kind of where I was gonna get to.
But even though, I mean, even if we did that, we would still use this area, so we probably still gotta fix the truss.
Yeah.
You still gotta fix it. Yeah. So the thought was moving him back into his old office until we got that fixed. Because you don't want to be in that office with that, the snow load got it and collapsing it on top of them.
We're not moving them into that office permanent.
I'd do that in back in there so we can use it for something else. I don't know why would you want to move and fix it and not use it?
Well, because it's kind of deteriorated, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what we could do is if we were just to fix the roof, I mean, we wouldn't have to put the drop ceiling back or anything like that. I mean, we just use it as storage pretty much. So like, I mean, it has a false floor and everything. You get rid of the false floor, get rid of the drop ceiling and just.
Is there cement underneath that drop floor?
I don't know.
Yeah, one nice truss.
I'd assume, I would assume there's cement, but can't really assume all the time. I don't even know if you can even pop up the floor. I don't know. I'd have to look at it some more, but I don't know how, like, if you want to move transportation in my old office for the time being.
I say we move them temporarily. Because it'd be a safety concern. If we know the trusses are bad, if we get bad snow in there.
I'd rather get them out sooner rather than later.
Okay, and then is this something you want me to?
Get some, I have to get a bid on it. It might have to be probably have to be next year's budget.
Well, that's what I was saying, but in the meantime,
We gotta figure out what's gonna take us to get there.
I mean, I can see about maybe putting up like a beam in the middle with some jacks, to just kind of help the roof a little bit.
To save it.
Over the winter.
Get some people professional that will tell you what to do with suggestions.
All right, I'll work on that and see what it's gonna cost. Because I know Becky was saying at one time how she was maybe wanting to remodel her office. I don't know if we do this at the same time, like next year, building next year's budget. But
I guess if we remodeled it, I would look at getting rid of that floor if we can,
right.
because you gotta step up kind of funky to get up there. Plus, you mentioned when we were touring that sometimes mice die underneath it, the smell.
I think it looks like it was just a lean-to at one point, and then they decided to
That's what
put some walls on it and a door.
They put that false floor so they could probably run their wiring and
Yeah.
stuff like that underneath.
So I don't know, but I will work on that. I'll get ahold of Becky,
Okay.
let her know, and we can go from there. Besides that, sprinkler inspections are next month, annual inspection for the courthouse and jail, and then the biannual for the kitchen hood. The exhaust fan in the courthouse bathrooms, they were wore out, so I ordered some motors, got them replaced. And then the elevator update, parts and equipments are ordered. Sounds like they have to make some custom pieces due to the age of the elevator. So that's gonna push the timeline back. And they said that they'd be on site November 27th. So the end of this month.
I thought
October 27th?
Oh, yeah, October.
Oh, I was gonna say.
I think we lost another month.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was November, but, yeah, October.
Kind of scared me, I saw the November.
No, it's October. It's
I
October.
wasn't here last week, so what do we have to do for now? Just if somebody has to have that service, we have to send somebody downstairs to help them out.
So basically, I made signs, I put them on the handicap sign out back behind the courthouse, and it has my extension on it. So during tax season, I just ran, it wasn't much, 4 or 5 things up to the treasurer's office. And usually now it's just tags. So if an older person comes in, and I'm not busy, I just run the tags up for them, bring it down. So really only had one guy really get into me, but that's it.
We're doing the best we can.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, there's no other choice.
gotta have our hands tied.
You have thick skin.
Yeah, I have thick skin, so. I just told him, no, it is what it is, there's nothing we can really do, we have our hands tied, so. And after he calmed down, I was able to run the stuff up there for him, so. But no, besides that, everything's all good, so. You guys have any questions?
Thank you. Anybody looking at getting the snow stuff ready yet?
No. Mowing, November, so.
I don't know.
I didn't see mowing for
All right, so,
Hi, good morning.
good morning. I am Sarah Barron. I am the district lead for District 6 for the Iowa Primary Care Association. And so I have with me, I think you guys know Unity. So we're just going around the district, meeting boards of supervisors, other elected officials, providers. And so we wanted to see if we could get on your agenda and chat with you today about the work that we're doing. So, again, I'm the district leader. Unity is our lead system navigator. And Abby Ferenzi, she is the senior director of behavioral health services. So she is kind of the boss for our department. And then Emma Hall is the director of system navigation. So she would be Unity's supervisor. And then my supervisor is Liza Maxwell. And she is our director of district operations and strategy. And what we want to talk to you today about is what our role is in behavioral health, understanding the need for system navigation. Unity will take that. Examples of how system navigation work and the purpose of, why that was what the state of Iowa chose to do moving forward. And then how you get access to a system navigator. And then I'll talk about the district advisory councils. And then if you have questions, we will answer them for you. So on July 1st, 2025, I will launch their new behavioral health system. The overhaul put mental health and substance use disorder together under one umbrella. And then the goal of that was to streamline access to both services, the behavioral health and the addictions disorder. because they all tend to go hand in hand. You usually don't have one without the other in most cases. And then behind that also is to make sure that people had access to consistent care, no matter where you are in Iowa, no matter what district you're able to access care, the kind of care that you choose and you need. We wanted it to be easier for all Iowans to access the services and supports that they need. And then Iowa Primary Care then, as the Behavioral Health Administrative Service Organization, was the one that got the award to do that. And so what we're charged with doing is making the system more integrated and more person-centered, so that the focus is on what that person needs real time when they need it. So Iowa Primary Care Association is a nonprofit, and they've since, I believe it's about 1988, they have been supporting the work of our community health centers throughout the state. They work with 14 community health centers statewide. And I like to think of the work that community health centers do as the safety net services for medical services for people in our communities. And that includes behavioral health services through community health center. And so with that being the safety net for medical services, it made sense that Iowa Primary Care would be the behavioral health ASO as that party responsible for the safety net services for mental health and behavioral health and substance use disorder. What our vision statement is it's a future where communities achieve their greatest health potential. And something that I like to share is our organizational values, because I think that those are values that we all share in the work that we do. They're an accountable organization. They're deliberate in the work that they do. And they have been very deliberate and very thoughtful since they were awarded the bid to be the Behavioral Health ASO. They are respectful. I have been treated with nothing but respect and support, and it is a great organization from an organizational culture in how they support their staff and the work that we are doing on their behalf. We are a collaborative organization, and their focus is on being proactive. Let's not wait until we have a problem. Let's look at what's going on in our communities and begin to solve those problems before they're a problem. And then we want to be transformative. So we're going to be spending the next couple of years working through what this system is ultimately going to look like. Today it doesn't look like it did at the end of June. And next year at this time, it's probably not going to look the same that it did today. It's only going to keep improving. So, you know, we have 7 districts across the state, and one of the goals that Unity and I are here working on is consistent delivery of behavioral health services while we are looking at the needs of each district, because our district's needs are different than District 7's, District 1's, District 4. And so even though we're a statewide organization doing the work statewide, we also recognize that our own districts have different needs and different accesses to service and supports. And then the other thing that I think has been a struggle, probably I worked in this system 24 years before I came to Iowa Primary Care, and it's always been a struggle with communication, consistent communication from the county level to the region level. And so the work of Iowa Primary Care is to ensure that our message is consistent and you're hearing that same message, whether it's a district leader speaking from District 1 or whether it's Unity and one of her peers speaking about system navigation from like District 3. So one of the things that we are doing in system alignment is that we are ensuring access to the comprehensive prevention, early intervention, treatment, recovery, and crisis services for mental health and addictive disorders. Step 2 of what we're doing is to connect and collaborate with our local leaders, board of supervisors, sheriffs, school districts, school officials. And Unity can talk a little bit about the work that they've been doing to touch base with all the school districts all the school districts in our district. And then finally, we're here to provide information. We're here to support referrals to community services, community providers, community supports. And we want to help Iowans navigate the behavioral health system. It's been a pretty significant struggle for Iowans to get from point A to point B. Even in the region system that, try to make those connections as well. As of August of 2025, Iowa Primary Care has contracted with 125 providers. So in that contracting process, what happened is the Department of Human Services gathered contracting information from all of the regions statewide, and then they gave that information over to Iowa Primary Care, so that Iowa Primary Care could execute contracts that kept those services in place as is in the same funding that they were receiving in the region system. And what we focus on, again, are those more group-based services or funding to keep services whole. Crisis services, for example, there is a lot of cost and expense that you cannot capture that in order to pay for the basic cost of those services on a fee for service. So it's Iowa Primary Care's role to pay for those costs that are kind of like the firehouse model. You're paying for fire department staff to be there to respond to whatever comes up for them. And so the contracts that we are looking at across the 7 areas there's been some unique programs, co-responder models for crisis services, and that's a model where a law enforcement and a behavioral health professional respond to a crisis call together and help that individual work through that with the support of both law enforcement and behavioral health professional. And then we are in the jails across the state, but not in all jails quite yet, but I think that's our focus. There was some inconsistency in the region system where some regions paid for prescribing and medication for those detainees in the jail that had behavioral health service needs, and Iowa Primary Care is paying for those services now. And one of our providers is also doing system navigation, which means that they're working with detainees who are going to be released to get them referred to services that can support them when they do get released from jail. We also have contracts for the substance abuse prevention, treatment, and recovery services. Those were formerly the IPN's grants funds that came through HHS to our addictions providers, and that funding comes through a SAMHSA grant from the federal government. We also have the Tobacco Community Partners funds that help our communities work on having people not starting to use tobacco or helping them to stop using tobacco. We work with the community health centers, and we provide the mental health block grant to those community health centers through our contracting. Again, like I talked about, our focus is on crisis services and making sure that those continue uninterrupted statewide and however they are being delivered in the communities that they serve. And then there is a program, Projects for Assistance in the Transformation from Homelessness. That is a program that was being funded by some regions or a region prior to Iowa Primary Care taking over, and so they continued funding for that program to assist homeless. We also continue to support peer-operated services. Those services are not something that can be billed through Medicaid on a fee-for-service, so we continue to fund those services. And then finally, the systems of care. There's another mental health block grant that has funding to support that. So that's the work that we're kind of doing in a nutshell as the behavioral health services for Iowa Primary Care. And I'll turn it over to you now.
Before I start talking, do you have any questions for Sarah on her piece?
So I guess I do, but I was on the East Central Iowa Governing Board, so I'm glad to see this is moving forward. I was really worried about how things were going to transition, and from what you just gave us, it sounds like it's going really well. The one question I had was the law enforcement liaison. I've seen statistics on that from being on the board and what a success that is. Is that a program that is going to continue, and how's the funding going to be for that?
So I would say for the next couple of years, definitely funding for that is stable for this first year. And in my conversations with my leadership, we honestly believe that it's going to take a couple of years to identify, where's funding doing the most good? Do we have providers that were being provided more funding than they realistically needed to do the work that they're doing? And we're gonna figure out what that right funding model is so that we can sustain those services that are valuable, but also then pull away money for services that maybe are new services that we need to develop and put into place. So definitely for the next couple of years, we're just learning and seeing how we need to kind of reorganize how we fund, what we fund. And our ultimate goal is that safety net fabric. We have to make sure that that safety net stays whole and we don't have anybody falling through that. So
I would assume you'd consult with the sheriffs in the district on that.
absolutely.
Because the statistics I've seen was, when we can solve a problem in the field, on the field, and not have to incarcerate someone or put them in a facility, we're saving money and probably helping the person in the long run for the better. And then with the follow-up, what I understand, the liaisons are doing little follow-ups after, an incident. So it just seems to me like it's a win-win program for everyone, and it saves quite a bit of money.
Right. Now, have you guys heard of the sequential intercept model? Okay, so what the sequential intercept model is it looks at how folks with mental illness and addictive disorders, how they interface with law enforcement and the justice system. And so the sequential intercept model is a 0 through a 5. 0 means that anybody with who's in the community with a crisis based on behavioral health or based on addictions, they interface with the behavioral health professional. And they get diverted into services, whether that's crisis services, 24-hour observation, the crisis stabilization residential services. We want to route those folks to those services first. Sometimes we can't catch those folks at that intersection. Then there's intercept 1 where law enforcement may be involved in that call out. And we still want to have our crisis folks there to support law enforcement in that individual, so that hopefully in that case, we can still divert them to services. And then intercept 2 through 4 are after the individual has been booked into jail and they're going through the court process, and those folks that we know are going to be released, we want to make sure that we have somebody working with them, getting services in place, and doing a warm handoff for when they get released to go into those services. I was the supervisor for the program that we did through our region prior, and we would do those warm handoffs, make sure that, if they needed a care coordinator or something like that, that we were making those relationships, making sure that if they needed to get into residential substance abuse services, that we were making those referrals and getting those dates set up for them to go in there. And then there is also need for support at Intercept 5, which is where they're out in the community and they have probation and parole officers. We want to support those probation and parole officers to help them find services that maybe need to, in the initial services that we focused on, there may be additional services that they need to access. So that's kind of the model that, I look at when I'm looking at interfaces with individuals that have crisis and those types of things and their potential to interface with law enforcement.
The thing I will say too is that we have a lot of champions for the liaison program in our agency, not just for myself for obvious reasons, but also Abby Ferenzi, who's the senior director of behavioral health services. She used to supervise a liaison in Johnson County for their clinical support wing of things. So they understand truly, not just from people who have done the liaison work, but also who have overseen those programs, how important it is. So I don't envision a future where those things are going to systematically disappear. They're a crucial part of our systems. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, and maybe we were just spoiled in this side of the state that we had good liaisons, and I don't know how well it was working in southeast or southwest Iowa or northwest Iowa, but it was working great here, the numbers I saw. So fabulous people. So.
And everybody that has liaisons wants to continue that. So that message has been heard by our leadership. So, that's what we're looking at. The other thing that the regions had contracts with Solution Point Plus to do the 40-hour CIT training, and Iowa Primary Care is working through that process to continue having that contract so that we can continue to have Solution Point Plus coming in and doing those 40-hour crisis intervention team trainings for our law enforcement officers.
Any other questions for Sarah before we talk about system navigation? Okay, want to borrow your thing? So system navigation essentially we've talked about in different capacities how complex this system can be for people who need to access care. And we're one entry point to support people through this process, whether that be like I need education referrals, or I need more high guidance and I need somebody to talk to me and walk me through like applications, talking on a 3-way call with the provider so that, from the time we pick up the phone to the time they actually call the place, they don't lose their ability to remember, how do I need to phrase what I need? Sometimes that can happen when you're having a behavioral health concern. So that's where we come in. So in developing system navigation, we partnered with Your Life Iowa, who's the agency that also dispatches mobile crisis for a lot of the different mobile crisis teams in the state. We've worked consistently on developing comprehensive resources and training, both internally and we're working on that externally as well. Ensuring consistent application and availability. So Sarah's point earlier, she said one of our focuses is consistent messaging across the state. That doesn't mean that you're going to get the same exact thing in every district because our needs are slightly different depending on rural and more urban spaces, but you should have the same excellence and quality in navigation services regardless of where you're coming or calling from. And then part of this, of course, is collaborating with diverse stakeholders, whether it's all of you, law enforcement partners, schools, faith-based communities, really trying to reach out to any area that may try to support people or have people in their building who could need access to support whatever that looks like for them. So system navigation, essentially what we do, so we provide that extensive information, education, and guidance, offer application assistance for services. That stuff can be confusing sometimes. Identify options to overcome barriers to access. Sometimes that's transportation, sometimes that's anxiety, sometimes it's insurance. Support people during key transitions. Sarah talked about out of jail, but we've also seen this out of hospital spaces as well. And then providing referrals and warm handoffs, as I mentioned earlier, to appropriate providers or long-term services. What we don't do, we don't provide treatment, we don't prescribe medication, do counseling or crisis intervention. So those pieces are still important parts of this system. They're just not our lane that we focus on in system navigation. So we have some flyers and business cards for you to know how to access, but like I said, it's that mobile crisis number. And then we have a provider line, so people in the community, whether it's law enforcement or behavioral health provider schools, they can bypass the Your Life Iowa team and get directly to a District 6 system navigator through calling that phone number. So I'll leave flyers for you on that piece as well. Let's see. So some examples of what we might see, like let's say rural resident recently diagnosed with depression, they don't know where to start. Sometimes primary care providers, not everyone, but sometimes they also don't know how to have these conversations with people. So some things we've been able to do is partner with some primary care providers to say like, hey, we are a really great service you can call with the person, or offer our number and we'll walk them through those steps so that you don't have to bridge those conversations if that's not in your house. Or let's say a parent notices their teenager starts skipping school, having struggles with substance use. I know we've seen that in this community, and when I was in a liaison role, this is something we can also help either law enforcement or the parent or the liaison work through how to get that kid services, but also what does the parent need in navigating the caregiver role in this space. Another example could be like somebody leaving the hospital with a list of outpatient services. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it can be overwhelming when you already have so many other things going on. So that's something that we can not only walk them through, but make that call with them, set up an appointment, and then we're following up with them after that appointment to make sure that they were able to actually access that care. And if they couldn't, what happened? Was there a breakdown somewhere? How can we help them through that? I do have some pieces of data here. This is statewide. We're working to get more individual district and county level data that should come later in the next few months. But so far, we've had about 1,300 navigation contacts from the beginning of July to end of September. Most of them, about 930, were clients directly, and about 350 were third parties. So that could be providers, the hospitals, law enforcement. Unsurprisingly, our highest call tag is mental health, and then second is housing, and substance use is third. So we're noticing this housing issue crop up across the state, and it's sparked a lot of conversations within our team and with HHS, trying to figure out how do we actively and realistically address this need in our community. So how you all and the community fits into this is if you know of someone or you yourself need support, please let people know that we're here, we're ready, available to access support for them. And then, continue to partner with us so we can make sure we understand the needs that you're seeing in your community and can adapt to meet them.
Are these brochures and stuff readily available? Do you visit the schools?
Can you repeat the question?
Are the brochures and stuff readily available for the schools?
Yeah, so Sarah mentioned earlier, we did have a school outreach plan, and our district has completed that. So we called every school in the district and then followed up with them with our school-based virtual flyers so that everybody has access. Everybody should have access to it. It's also available on our website as well. So we'll continue our school outreach conversations and collaboration with them. That's a good question.
So now that the state has taken over, what is our input to this?
So that's a great segue into district advisory councils. Actually, that's exactly where that comes in.
Yeah, so then the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about were the district advisory councils. And I wanted to identify, there are 10 seats on the district advisory council. 1 is a sheriff's representation, 3 are community-based providers, 3 are elected officials, and then 3 are folks with lived experience, including somebody with a child who has been in the behavioral health system. And so for our system, we have a district advisory member from Benton County, and I believe that is Jacqueline Smith-Dugan. She is our vice chair, and she represents the provider part of our system. Our next individual we have is from Iowa County, and that is Jennifer Olson, and she is the chair of our district advisory council for District 6. And then we have 2 individuals from Washington. Jack Seward, a board of supervisor from Washington, is on our district advisory council as an elected official, and then Sheriff Snyder is on our district advisory council as the sheriff representative. We have another individual from Mahaska County, and that is Denise Gipple, and she is a parent of a child with lived experience. We have somebody from Wapello County, and that would be Christina Sharp. She is the director of the Southeast Iowa Mental Health organization there, and they are also a CCVHC, so she represents the provider community. We have an individual from Appanoose County, and so you're getting the message here. We've got heavy law enforcement on our district advisory council. The sheriff from Appanoose County, Sheriff Anderson, Gary Anderson, he is on our advisory council. And then from Henry County, we also have a sheriff, Sheriff McNamee from Washington County is on our advisory county. And then the last 2 folks that are on our advisory county from Lee County, John Levy from Great River Health System. So he represents the provider array, and Brianna Kramer, she represents lived experience. So those are the members of our district advisory council. And I think that they come from great perspectives to support the work that the district advisory council does. And in that, the work of the district advisory council is to identify opportunities and identify challenges regarding implementation of the service. So their role here is to advise the Iowa Primary Care Association as we do our work in developing our health policies, our mental health policies, and also give us input as we look at how we continue to do our behavioral health services work by, helping us with the integration of behavioral health prevention, education, early intervention, treatment, recovery, support, and crisis services as it relates to mental health and addictive disorders. And something else that is happening is Iowa Primary Care is hiring what they call subject matter experts. And so what they're going to be doing is they're going to focus on certain areas, like we have a subject matter expert that is focusing on prevention and early intervention. And what they will do is they will help us develop training and technical assistance for our providers in the community. So we have about 8 different subject matter experts that we're in the process of hiring. And I think the majority of them will be onboarded by the 20th or begin onboarding by the 20th of this month. So we're really excited about having that expertise on our team to help guide us. So again, all of this works through a statewide plan that was developed by Health and Human Services last year. And so what that does is that finally gives us a framework that from the federal down to the state, down to the local, we're working on the same goals through the same document. Also from local up through the state, we're working on the same goals through that document. And we talked a little bit about data, but really over the last several years, we've been talking about how important data is to drive the decisions that we're making. So as part of that, we're looking for meaningful data to guide the decisions that Iowa Primary Care has to make while we're doing our work. We also then, our goal is to develop consistent policies across the state and protocols. So a protocol to access something needs to be the same whether you're accessing a service in Iowa County or you're accessing a service in Clay County. The other thing is that we're looking for solutions for community needs. One of the things that the navigators are looking at is the gaps that they're seeing. And I can tell you this, our system navigators are tenacious and they will dive deep to figure out where that resource is for the folks that are calling them. And at the end of the day, if they can't find that resource, that means that resource doesn't exist. And that's what Iowa Health and Human Services needs to know, is where those gaps are, how critical those gaps are, and then we need to begin to figure out how we fill those gaps. And then data-informed assessment, and then as I talked about earlier, this next couple of years is an adjustment time so that we're fine-tuning getting it right. And so we need to use data to drive our assessments and that fine-tuning. So that's the work of the district advisory councils. And our next district advisory council meeting is December 3rd. And that is going to be both in person and hybrid via Zoom. So it will be at the Washington County Public Library for that meeting. And then there's also going to be the Zoom link. And I sent this PowerPoint to your auditor. So you have the information in here as far as the link to the Iowa Primary Care website for the district advisory councils. On that website are the recordings from the 2 previous district advisory council meetings and any PowerPoints or documents that were presented at those meetings. And then the dates of the meetings coming up in December and then the future dates of the rest of the district advisory councils for this year. So you asked about how you can participate, how you can support the work that we do. One of the things that I've been saying is please attend those district advisory council meetings because there's time dedicated during those meetings to get feedback from the public on the work that we're doing. And those notes are taken and those notes are incorporated into the work that our senior leadership is doing to move this system forward. And then that comes down to Unity and I to direct us how we're going to do our work to address those things that have been brought to us through public comment. And then again, you can always reach out to Unity and myself. We're happy to answer questions. If we can't answer questions, we know who within our organization can answer those questions, and we're going to make that connection with you. And so again, if you want to just email me with questions or suggestions or any observations, that's what we're here for.
Any questions?
Mhm.
You have your contact information?
I think I don't have business cards yet, but my contact information is on the information that
I'll give you copies.
You bet. You bet.
and I'll give you some flyers. These are for providers, and then these ones are for individuals.
And I'll get your life plans out to you guys. I mean, you can hand these out to anybody, since this is the primary route into system navigation. So again, thank you very, very much for letting us.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Good to see you all again.
You bet.
Yes. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
We discussed anything on the agenda, is there anything else?
Nope.
Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned.